Talking about this man, the reports are stating that new bids have come in from both Manchester United and Newcastle United. But Craig, if we take the Manchester United angle here, it feels as though the general consensus on this panel is that even with Chisco in that Manchester United team, that's not enough to finish in the top half of the table next season.
Top half?
Top half.
I would expect him to be in the top half. I mean, if they're not in the top half, even with just signing Mbemo, then Ruben Amorim has to go. I mean, they were not in the top half last year because they had this horrendous run. I thought you caught me off guard there, because I thought you were going to say... I did. I said not in the top half. I thought you were going to say not in the top six. And
so what's the best they could do with him?
Well, they've signed Mbemo, they've signed Cunha, and they may sign Chisco. That doesn't paper over the other deficiencies in the team. You could look at the full-back area, you could certainly look at a centre-half position, and you definitely 100% could look at the middle of the park. That being said, I mean, currently it would be a struggle, I think, to get in the top six, but the top half of the Premier League, Manchester United, with one of the most respected young managers in the game, albeit he struggled and has struggled since he came in, with international footballers all over the team, all over the squad, and we can debate whether they're good enough to be on the Liverpool of... Well, it's not a debate. They're not on the level of Liverpool and Arsenal and I suppose City and Chelsea and all the sort of runners and riders that are chasing, like Newcastle and Aston Villa and one or two others. They're not on that level, but come on. Top 10 in the league? Yeah. If they're not in the top 10 in the league, even with the signings, then he has to go. I mean, it's not even difficult. So with these signings and maybe one or two, I think there's a lot more expected of him than finishing, 9th or 10th in the Premier League. That's totally unacceptable.
So, Jan, with varying degrees of optimism, if Benjamin Chisco is to come in at Manchester United, what are your thoughts on how he'll translate a player coming from the Bundesliga to the Premier League, this player in pretty much focus here?
Yeah, well, the last former Red Bull Salzburg striker who came to Dortmund and went to Manchester, he did okay, Erling Haaland. So Chisco, he's a kind of same player, but I don't expect him to go all that in, but he's a great player. He has to adjust, as every other foreigner needs to do when they come to a new country. Remember Kai Havertz, we remember Timo Werner. That was a bit COVID and all those kind of things. So I think it's come down to not the nationality, but the personality, how much they want to do this. Remember, this is a Slovenian player who has been in Austria, who has been in Leipzig, and now he's going to adjust to another country. He's accustomed to that. He's done that before. I don't think that will be a big problem. Then it all depends, of course, of people going. Craig was talking about the tools, the weapons they have in front. I mean, but you need players to play them up. You need legs in midfield, Manchester United. You can't concede goal. You need a goalkeeper. There is a lot of things that make you stick with a team, because, of course, it's easier to come to a team that's functioning. It's a big difference between being Florian Wirtz coming from Leverkusen into a Liverpool team that he will have a lot of the ball. You know that they will be good in this season as well. Benjamin Chisco, if now he goes over the line and he comes to Manchester United, he has to come to a team that's functional as well. Will he be a 22-year-old that's going to lead the line for them? No, he won't. But he will be a very, very good addition for Manchester United in their way to get top six. I think they will be top six.
But if he's not going to lead the line for them, Jan, who is?
I take them metaphorically. I don't say that he's going to lead the line. I don't think that there will be the only responsibility. He's not the one. That's Bruno Fernandez's job. That is other players' job to lead the line in those. But he will lead the line and be in the team. I think when you see the three now up front for them with Fernandez and in and around, you have players that can sometimes cross a ball, which will be very, very important. But Manchester United now seem to. They're a bit off balance, but it's still like 3 weeks at least left of the transfer window, and they need to invest even more to get a team that I predict will be top 6.
I still think top 8 is Manchester United's ceiling, with or without Benjamin Chisco. And listen, and while the additions in Mbeumo and Cunha are good additions, and certainly improve Manchester United, let's be honest, nobody was banging down the door for those two. And even with Chisco, and while I take Jan's point, I think it's more a case of Chisco will be that great player. I'm not sure he is that player right now that takes Manchester United from 15th to 6th. That's a hell of a jump. Maybe in time and given his age, he progresses to become that player, but I'm just not sure that he is right now. And that's a big ask of a 22-year-old, regardless. So let's be honest, and while there is a bit of a bidding war right now for Benjamin Chisco, that's going on because Newcastle are worried about losing Aage and need a replacement. Otherwise, again, it's just Manchester United who's the potential suitors. So, all that being said, I think Manchester United move in the right direction. I still think they have far too many deficiencies. I'm not sure if those additions that have arrived this summer is enough to see them jump 6 places. 8th for me is still their ceiling.
At least they're trying to buy. At least they're attempting to buy players that are gaining interest from other clubs.
Yeah.
You know, when Højlund came in from Atlanta, it wasn't a great scramble for Højlund. I don't remember anybody, although they paid big money. I don't remember many big clubs falling over themselves to try and sign Anthony. And they've got a few like that, whereas Mbeumo was a player who interested a lot of people from Brentford. Cunha was a player who has been at a high level and has interested a lot of people. Arsenal were looking at him. There was talk about Arsenal last January to try and bolster them for their second half of the season. That didn't happen. We know he's a good player. We know he's a little inconsistent at times, but we know he's a talent. And Chisco is a player that both Newcastle have been bidding, United have been bidding. Before Gyökeres went to Arsenal, his name was linked with Arsenal. So, and as Jan said, he's been around for a youngster. He's been around 2 or 3 countries, and he has got good experience. So I'll give them the due in that sense. They're trying to sign good quality players here, or decent quality players. Let's be honest about it. Most decent players would improve this United side. That's how low they have got. That being said, though, when you look at some of the garbage, and I'm being serious here, for the money spent in the Premier League, right? For the money generated by television in the Premier League, the amount of absolute dross teams in the bottom half is scary. With all that money spent, they've got more money than any of the leagues in Europe, but yet they spend it terribly. So let's not get away from the Premier League is the greatest thing ever. It is not. It has a very strong top end. Last year, not so much, because Liverpool were head and shoulders, but it generally has a very strong top end. Then when you sort of go under 7th, 8th, 9th into mid-table, it's absolutely bang average. And I mean bang average. You got Crystal Palace, who, and Oliver Glasner did a great job, but they have a very small budget. They sell their best players, and they can still be a sort of mid-table team, and they can still have the cup run, which was sensational for them last year. So if we're saying, and some of my colleagues here are saying that they don't expect United to get in the top half, that's a hammer blow. I mean, there is no way that, absolutely no way, come hail or shine, that Ruben Amorim is going to survive sitting in 12th or 13th on the table. It's just not going to happen.
Called his team's performance, the 2-2 draw against Everton, lazy. He said, we didn't want to finish this way. Our performance wasn't the best and we were a little bit lazy today. We want to avoid that because with laziness, you can pay at any moment. Hopefully, we can add 1 or 2 more players. Just wanted to get your opinion on what he said, Craig.
Well, I mean, I don't want to upset Manchester United's biggest and most recent summer recruit, who sat to my right-hand side here. Who was you were praising them to the high heaven.
I was just saying, as pre-seasons go, it's as good as you can get from Manchester United. I was Sunday.
It's Tuesday today. It was Sunday. You were waxing lyrical about Manchester United pre-season.
I'm just saying.
Shaka's power ranking.
I'm just saying, as pre-seasons go, this was as good as Manchester United could hope for.
He doesn't think so.
Well, one game off of one game, but aside from which, my point then was just simply, if Manchester United had lost 5 to who was it, Bournemouth and West Ham, it would be a very different discussion. They won those games, they needed to, now they have to build on that. That's got nothing to do with what Bruno said here.
Yeah, but if I may say, Craig, all the reports from the Manchester United pre-season camp, there are good signals, and we compare that with last summer. So now, but Craig, there's nothing to do with winning preseason. I hate preseasons. I hated it as a player. I hated to watch it now. So I'm 100% with you. We can't read a lot into it, but I think you can see with Bruno Fernandez, you can see with Amorim, you can see they try to do something with a bad culture. You can see that there was a good move to lead Garnacho at home. It was a good move to make Rashford stay at home, because you have to build that culture. Manchester United got to build a culture, and I see and I read the quotes from Fernandez in that perspective, that they just want to make sure that the culture is okay, Craig, and even you have to admit that is a good thing to do.
I totally agree, and I think it's been patently obvious since, not just, I think when Ralph Rangnick went in there, and I think and he had a look at it, and he got a lot of criticism, and his results weren't good, but he was a man, and he is a man who is used to looking deeper into football clubs. And I think he looked at the whole structure and the playing staff and how they went about things, and knew that it was rotten to the core. And so, Ten Hag comes in, he tries to change it, blah, blah, blah. I don't want to go with the whole story because it's a book and a half. But it's been crystal clear that they are trying to change the culture. But whilst you're trying to change the culture, you still have to get results as well. And I think that's important to remember, that for Manchester United, you can't do one thing without the other, unless you've got some sort of 10-year project where you do have time. Managers just don't get that kind of time anymore. The interesting thing for me with Bruno Fernandez is, in this whole talk about Mbemo and Cunha and Sesko, is it continually seems to me that he's going to be playing deeper and deeper and deeper. And I just don't see how this really works, because whenever he's playing in these deeper positions, which he has done before, picking the ball off the back four and playing these long passes, it just negates the best part of his game, which is picking the ball up in the final third and prodding and assisting and scoring these great goals and doing all those sort of stuffs that we know Bruno Fernandes can do. And the deeper he gets into a more unnatural position, and central midfield is an unnatural position for him. It really is. That's a concern for me. So you're looking at better signings, but you're looking at the balance of the team. And it's one of the things is, and he's going to be captain, I believe, next year again, is how are they going to fit Bruno Fernandes and get the best out of him into this Manchester United side? It's not just there's no point just buying all the pieces of the jigsaw and then you've got no idea where you're going to put them. You have to know where you're going to put people. And that's going to be one of the interesting things with Ruben Amorim. Where's he going to fit the players that are going to make the difference? And that will be the difference for him.
Yeah, absolutely. Make sure to hear Craig, Shaka and Jan answering your questions on the latest edition of Extra Time. Liverpool made it 2 wins from 2 versus Athletic Club in a double header of friendly matches at Anfield. The second was yesterday, it finished 3-2, and it was a strong, if not first choice lineup that we got to see from Arne Slot. We got to see some debuts from Liverpool's new recruits as well. We welcome in Beth Lindop. Aage Fjortoft is also with us. Beth, let me start about that lineup against Athletic Club. No Isaac in that, obviously. If that's to be the case, is that the lineup we'll be seeing, do you think, next season from Liverpool?
Yeah, I think so. I think it was pretty much as close to a strong 11, the strongest 11 as Arne Slot could field yesterday. He was out without Virgil van Dijk, who was out with illness. Connor Bradley as well, the defender, was out with an injury. So both of those players, I think, could come in. Alexis McAllister played in the earlier game as well. So you would expect that he'll come back into the side, possibly in time for the Community Shield. If not, then in time for the start of the season. He's still working his way back to full fitness after injury. So there's maybe one or two little tweaks that Arne Slot could make there. But on the whole, that's probably Liverpool's strongest side at the moment. And, I have to say, I was pleasantly surprised by how sharp they look. I agree with the guys. You can't judge too much from pre-season, but from what I've seen so far from Liverpool, they do look really slick, and the new signing seems to have bedded in pretty well already.
Do you like how that side looks?
I just like Liverpool squad in general. Yeah. I like Arsenal squad, to be fair. They've spent well. I think it's going to be a great head-to-head, whether City and Chelsea jump back in, particularly City. Maybe Chelsea, you know, depending on their consistency. People I think get a little carried away with the Club World Cup. But the one thing for Liverpool is they are, every week now, home and away, they are the team that everybody wants to beat. Last year when they started the season, when Arne Slot came in, it's Liverpool Football Club, they're huge and we get all that and they have great players. But they were third favourites to win the league last year. I think, you know, it was Arsenal and City, and then Liverpool can't win it. They've got a new manager coming in, he's never been in the Premier League before and all that sort of nonsense. And they put that to bed very quickly. They were the best team by far, by a stretch. Played some great stuff, but they are now the team to beat. So every week, weekend and a Tuesday or Wednesday and a weekend again, home and away, they're the team that everybody wants to knock off. So that's a different level for them, I think. And you know, that's what they've just brought on themselves. They were so good last year in the Premier League that wherever they go this year, you know, teams are either going to just, you know, sit really deep against them. They're just going to be panicking about doing this, and so it might be a slightly different nugget for them this year. But I like the manager. I think it's a great squad. They've spent a lot of money because they didn't do that in the last couple of years, so they've sort of saved themselves a little bit, and they look very, very strong. So yeah, I like the look of them. I don't think they're going to go away. And if Arsenal or City are going to win the league, they're going to have to play well. But yeah, that's a really, really good looking Liverpool squad. You had that same reaction when I put that question to Craig.
I absolutely. And the thing is, you look at Liverpool last season and how they dominated the league. And yes, I know it was an off season for Manchester City. We see what they look like. But Liverpool were by far and away the best team in the league last year. And they have had a hell of a pre-season. I mean, spending to back that up. But to Beth's point, as long as those new signings bed in, Florian Wirtz in particular, Ekitike up front, he's young, you expect a little bit of a roller coaster from him in terms of form. But whether Arne Slot goes with a front three or front four with Ekitike, it really is a fearsome lineup. I just feel that this version of Liverpool, on paper, we haven't kicked a ball yet, on paper is so much better than the Liverpool of last season. And that's a worrying aspect for the rest of the league to consider.
Beth, as you know, we love to tell you what Stevie Nicol said on this show. One thing he said yesterday was that if Isak's not to come, he would be happy with Darwin Nunes sticking around. Is there any chance that does happen?
Yeah, I mean, I'm quite surprised that Nunes is still with the squad, to be honest, and played a big part yesterday. He played in the first game of the afternoon against Athletic Club, so he's still very much involved in the squad. There's been interest in him all summer. I would say that, you know, I'm 90% sure he will move on, but it is just where he moves on to and whether a fee comes in for him. We know that there's been interest from Saudi, who you would imagine would be prepared to pay probably the highest amount of any potential suitor. There was interest from Italy earlier in the window, but it's whether they could afford him. So I think those details will need to be right for Liverpool to let him go. But I think for both the player and the club, the best thing for him would probably be to move on. That said, he gets a goal yesterday, so who knows? Maybe it could be fourth season lucky for him. But no, I think the sort of the Nunes experiment at Liverpool now, I think for both the player and the club, the best thing would be for a fresh chapter, I think.
Well, that's a statement, isn't it, from Stevie? If they don't get Alexander Isak, he'll be happy for Darwin Nunes to hang around. I mean, I
feel like he's always got a bit of a soft spot for Darwin Nunes, though, Stevie, right?
Well, it's nothing to do with soft spots. If they don't get Alexander Isak and they lose Darwin Nunes, then
it's not great. But then to that point, though, Jan, is Darwin Nunes okay sticking around and being a squad player when he probably could get more minutes elsewhere?
No, but I don't think he should. I don't think it's a part of the strategy. Remember, when we're talking about how good they look on the pitch now, it's also how good they look off the pitch. I mean, the strategy they're having now. Remember back in the days when Jurgen Klopp had to ask his mate from Germany to come in and help him, and that didn't work out. Last season, there were 3 players who were the best players who could leave on a free. And Darwin Nunes, that is a part of the strategy to get in money. They got 75 million euros for Diaz, and as Beth is saying, there's some fees can come in from the Saudis, so that means that they can get up to 150, 160 million euro for 2 players who are not secure in for a place in the team. So I think that although they look very good on the pitch, at the moment they look even better outside how this club is run. If you compare it with some other clubs in England, it was like last season was a bonus season. I don't think even Liverpool thought they're going to win the league last season. I thought they thought that would be a season that they put themselves into top 4, and then they're going to attack this season. And now they're here, a reigning champion, and they are attacking again. Give them a broader squad, and they give Diaz and Nunes away. That is good management.
And
I mean, he's had enough chances, isn't he, Darwin Nunes? I mean, you could not fault him for endeavour.
No.
You could not fault him for fighting and running. And he scored some great goals, but he just was never consistent enough for a football club that has the ambitions and has the standards that Liverpool has. And that's unfortunate. And he's not the first and he's not the last. And I do agree with everybody here that I think his time is somewhere else. The big question is, if they don't get the player coming in, will they still sell Nunes to get the money when that's another man down? I mean, the transfer window has still got a little bit to run, so they could do some other business if Isak is not the player coming in. But in terms of his Liverpool career, yeah, I mean, he's had enough chances, and I think he's proven that he was never going to be anything other than a player who come on for 15, 20 minutes as a bit of a battering ram at the end of the game, or played in the Carabao Cup to give the others a rest. And that's unfortunate, because his last season in particular at Benfica was very, very good.
As a former midfielder, I wanted to ask you, because obviously there's a lot more pressure on Liverpool this season. When you look at Dominic Solanke, we just saw him in that 11 there. How much pressure's on him this season to be that defensive linchpin?
Well, I think there's a lot of pressure on him to have his spot in the team. Because I think, have I missed something? But, you know, McAllister's going to be around. And I think the preferred partnership there is probably Gravenberch and McAllister, with potentially Wirtz as the number 10. And Szoboszlai is a player that does a little bit of everything. He's an old-fashioned dynamic box-to-box midfielder, but he likes getting forward. And even though as good a player as he is, experienced Hungarian international, he's the captain of his country, he was a little in and out last year at Liverpool before, you know, Florian Wirtz comes in. And we know how good a season, which was stunning really, the season that Gravenberch had, bearing in mind how he'd performed before, that Arne Slot came in and saw something different in him, and the whole game changed. And so I think Szoboszlai is a big player for them. I think this midfield is an excellent midfield. But I think he's going to have to play well just to be in this team. Unless Florian Wirtz position and they play with Gravenberch, McAllister and Szoboszlai, then one of those three is going to have to miss out. And I think, for the most part, it's probably going to be him.
Well, you wonder if Florian Wirtz is going to be able to play in whatever position he wants to. This is him on his role, on being, on having that freedom under Arne Slot. He said, I'm a player who needs freedom on the pitch, and the manager gives that to me. Of course, I have to respect the position and the players around me, but I try to give my best on the pitch and find the right places. I have the freedom to do that. Now, obviously, having the freedom sounds great in theory. There's a lot of trust involved there. But we've seen things like this, similar to this, Jan, with Real Madrid under Ancelotti, who gives his players that freedom to express themselves. Is there a fine line in having that freedom and having a more set role under a manager?
That is a good observation of what they do. The thing is that you saw by Liverpool, and you see with this squad of Liverpool, there are a lot of players who can play in different positions. That is a part of their game. And I was thinking, as you can see, okay, my Middlesbrough shirt behind me. Remember when we got Juninho? Yeah, and we got Juninho, and Brian Robson just said, just go out there and have fun. Find that space between the midfield and the back four of the opposition team. It's not that easy nowadays because everything is more analysed. But Florian Wirtz is a street footballer. I think it's one of those things that won him over, that Arne Slot told him that this is how we play. I want you to be an in-and-out player. You can be in-and-out striker. You can be a number 10. You can play left at our club, and still you will have people around you that secure your position. So I think that Arne Slot absolutely can put him into that position, and you can't limit Florian Wirtz. That kind of player can't be limited through a tactical, defined kind of thing. But even Alonso found places for him, learned him things, got him to be disciplined in that position. He does that also with Germany. He can just not be a guy running around, but he fits so perfectly to Liverpool, and all the compliment to both Team Wirtz to see that, and Liverpool to define that this player will make us better.
Jan, is he going to get stuck in and do the dirty work then? Is that what you're saying? Will he do that too?
Is there a lot of dirty work done at Liverpool for the back top people? They were talking about people who doing that. Craig called garbage. There's garbage things that need to be done, and they got enough players doing that. Florian Wirtz don't have to do that, but he's disciplined enough. That my point being that you can't win the league with Bayer Leverkusen. You can't play with Germany if you are just a player going forward. Often these players who are so tactically good, they find a way to just do what they have to do to not play with 10 when the opposition got the ball. So I'm not worried about that at all.
Liverpool are not signing players that it's all about them. They sign players that it's about their talent, yes, and what they bring to the team, but it's about their ability to sort of gel with the others within that squad. They did not go on the run that they went on, particularly in the first half of last year. That's when they blew the rest of the Premier League away. We can talk about City falling off and Arsenal's injuries and all that sort of stuff, and those things happen, but Liverpool blew them away by Christmas, right? And then even Liverpool were able to take their foot off the gas. But they did not do that by carrying people. They didn't, even for Mo Salah, the superstar that he is, he still has to do his tracking back to help out Alexander-Arnold as it was. So the players have to come in and they know their job. There is a structure within this Liverpool team, and everybody has got a job to do, both offensively and defensively, whether it's Florian Wirtz or Gakpo or whoever it is. It doesn't matter. And I think that's what they've got. I mean, do some players work harder and are more aggressive than others? Yeah, but that's why you have midfielders behind. And I don't think we'll be... I'll be surprised if we're sitting here next season or when the season starts talking about Florian Wirtz's lack of work rate. I don't think that'll be something that... I mean, obviously we cover Real Madrid a lot and we talk about it a lot, and that's kind of the different approach where they just try and sign these superstars who, like Vinicius Jr. and Kylian Mbappe, who think it's all about them and the rest can go and just do the dirty work for them. That's not the approach at Liverpool and some of the other clubs, and I don't think we're going to see it this season.
Listen, I agree. Listen, I think Florian Wirtz is an incredible player. But to the statement and about him being free, as an attacking player, you can play with that freedom. And it just comes down to your understanding of those players who make up the rest of the front three or front four, as it were. But defensively, surely, even as a player who's given freedom going forward, you have to be far more disciplined going back. I think while it's easy to draw comparisons with Leverkusen, but Leverkusen was more built around Florian Wirtz. Florian Wirtz was the star of that team. You come in and you earn that right at Liverpool, not by a price tag. You earn that by performances on the park. And again, it's pre-season, but there's no suggestion that there's a lack of understanding between him and the quality that he has around him up front. But particularly in the Champions League, you go deep in the Champions League, it is a lot about that discipline defensively. You mentioned Ancelotti and Real Madrid. I thought a couple of seasons ago, in that second half of the season Champions League run, that's when you saw Vinicius Jr. at his best in terms of going forward and that freedom he played for, but also that understanding of what he had to do coming back defensively, and Bellingham kind of covering that side for him. Those are the telling times for Liverpool at the higher end of the competition, because while you could be as free as you want defensively for maybe 25, 30 of 38 Premier League games, you get into the second half of the Champions League, you come up against the likes of PSG, etc. You're going to be found out if you aren't disciplined defensively.
When Arne Slot first came in, when he came in last year, if he's taken off Mo Salah and he's taken off Diaz and these players, and the crowd said, what the hell's this guy doing? He doesn't know what he's doing. If it wasn't going right and if things weren't going swimmingly and he was making these big changes, where he's manoeuvred himself into a position, I know he was successful in Holland, but we're talking about England here, he manoeuvred himself into a position with the season that they had last year that he's in such a strong position, he can make those decisions. If players are not performing, he can take the Mo Salahs off. You can take the Florian Wirtz off. He's not working hard enough. He's not doing this or doing that. You can make changes. They have a big enough squad to do so. They have a good enough squad to be able to make those changes. The manager has earned the respect to make those decisions and not be questioned about he doesn't know what he's doing, because he clearly does. And so what they did last year I think has given the club so much confidence in the manager, because we never know. You know, Xabi Alonso's in at Real Madrid this year after this great success in Germany. We don't know what's going to happen. We don't know how it's going to go. I mean, I know it's a bit of a mess there at times, but we just don't know. We didn't know what Arne Slot was going to bring to Liverpool, because Jurgen Klopp was such a sort of legendary figure at the club. It was Klopp's team. It became Klopp's club for quite a few years, and it sort of mirrored him, the energy and the drive and the passion. And so it was a setback for everybody, whether it's pundits or journalists or supporters, and say, well, what is Arne Slot going to bring to the Premier League? What's he going to bring to Liverpool? And I think we got our answer, and some.
Yes, absolutely. Beth, thank you so much for being with us. We'll no doubt be talking to you again very soon about some of these topics to do with Liverpool. And she will be at the Liverpool game against Crystal Palace, the FA Community Shield.